Hey guys, welcome to part 6 and welcome to Jade Creek, one of my favorite stages in the whole game. Like, it has a little of everything that I think makes a stage really fun. It's big and open-ended, but it's not too big. It's always throwing new things your way, there's never a dull moment, there aren't a lot of stretches that are empty and barren that I think should have been left out to make it tighter. It's got a lot of crazy level-specific gimmicks that just make it stand out as one of the highlights of the game. And I love everything about it. Like, yeah, I think the level design overall is pretty good. I like most of these stages, but I really love this stage. There's a few special stages in this, like Dragon Valley and Aqua Tunnel and so on, that I feel are more than good, that I feel are superb, where they really did everything just right. And I just feel that this stage is one of the major highlights of the game, and it just stands out, and I love everything about it. But you know, I'm not going to spend this whole video singing its praises and just saying the same things over and over again. I'm going to bring up a few things I've been wanting to talk about for a while, but just haven't really found the time to bring up. So anyway, first off, well, this is nice. For once we're starting with actual gameplay and not just another heaping helping of cutscenes like we have in every other video. Yeah, I can understand that being an issue for some people. Personally, I don't mind the sheer quantity of cutscenes. I don't think there's too much story. But I can understand it being an issue for some other people. Like, heck, look at the Giga Boost review. Most of the criticisms in that wasn't even at the gameplay. It was at just how massive the story was and the writing and all that. I guess it's not a big issue for me because I already knew beforehand that this was already a condensed version of the story that Strife wanted to release the game with. He ended up leaving a lot of stuff out due to time constraints and, well, just because it really was too darn big for a game like this. So he ended up leaving a lot of stuff out, and can you just imagine there being more world building, of there being like twice as many cutscenes as there ended up being in the final game? I mean, good lord. But yeah, it's not a big issue for me. Like, if it is an issue for people, they can just play classic mode and just leave this stuff out altogether. But all things considered, I think it's pretty nice. Oh, I'll get back to that in a moment, but I'm going to talk about the shields for a second. This is the water shield, and as you can guess, it lets you breathe underwater, but it also makes you impervious to various water-based attacks. Probably not all of them, but for enemies like this, and the frogs up there, and, well, yeah, you've seen a couple of them, you'll see another one in just a moment, and these enemies that surround themselves with this ring of purple glob balls. Like, you can just walk up to one of those guys, and all the globs will dissipate and make this really great, like, kind of sound. It's just crazy. So yeah, it's a pretty cool shield. There's like 4 other shields too. There's just a lot of shields. There's the metal shield, which lets you walk on spikes and whatnot. There's the fire shield, which burns enemies as you touch them. So you could just stand in front of a guy like that, and he'll just be torched. And of course you can keep hitting him and kill him like twice as fast. It also makes you impervious to fire-based attacks and, you know, environmental hazards that like shoot fire at you and dump lava on you and whatnot, as we'll see later. This is another level gimmick I really like. Those things, how far they go depends on how much momentum you've built up. So if you haven't built up much like here, well, they just go a bit. But if you're going really fast like you saw at the beginning of the stage, woo! So yeah, I really like gimmicks like that don't just play out a certain way, that you can really control. So anyway, what was I gonna say next? Oh yeah. Then there's the gem shield, which attracts gems to you, and there's the flower shield, which not only pulls flower petals to you, restoring your health, but like every now and then if you go through a line of blue gems, one of them might suddenly transform into a flower petal. So, you know, it's just, some of these have really neat effects, little bonus things that I really like. I like to call these things whirly gigs. You just stand on them and let them carry you away. Not that, like, not a lot of depth to these things, but, you know, they're pretty fun. And you may have noticed, we just got our 7th card. Yeah, this is like the only stage I can think of that has so many in one half of it. And just another one of those times when we have more in the first act than the second. But anyway, yeah, I just didn't want to ride the whirly gigs up there. I wanted to use the cyclone ability. And there you go, I managed to do it. Anyway, we're near the end of this first round. Like, there are several points where that guy chases you around in his alien squat car hoverboat thing, but he's not the mid-boss. We're coming right up to that. Yeah, I'm sorry I didn't manage to record footage of myself using the water shield to destroy those guys. It would have been fun to see, but oh well, whatever. And there's Neera. She's the mid-boss. Now, first I just want to clear up. I'm sorry that I'm playing through this stage as Lilac. Originally I was going to play through it as Carol, and I even recorded a little bit of it for the end of the last video, but I ended up playing through this stage as Lilac just because I thought it was really fun, and I just don't think we've seen enough of Lilac recently. But anyway, Neera, like, at first I thought she was really tough because I just had so much trouble avoiding her attacks, but that's because I was just being kind of crazy and all over the place, and Neera has a very predictable pattern. She just jumps back and forth and throws one of those things at you. And, you know, in each of these rounds, she summons a shield, so you know, now it's like she has more health. Anyway, it's really repetitive, really slow, one of the more tedious bosses. Not the most tedious it gets, as we'll see, like, in the next part. But anyway, I tried a couple of times to speed this up. I ended up jumping the gun and getting myself hurt. I used to die to this boss a lot, but I guess it's just because I wasn't approaching it the right way. I guess it's really easy to get impatient with an enemy like this and jump the gun, but, you know, just keep going the same way, dance her dance, and well, there you go. Alright, this is where things get really crazy. Most of the rest of this stage is spent just running along the top of this gigantic submarine that keeps diving underwater and then bombing itself whenever it surfaces to try to get you. It's a pretty crazy part of the stage. I honestly don't like it quite as much as the first part just because there was more exploration and whatnot, and well, that's just up my alley. But you know, it's still pretty fun. It's still a good, like, action sequence. Feels kind of like something out of a movie. You know, it works. And I really, really like the music. You may recognize it playing in, you know, some of the trailers of this game. Like, just listen to this part. Just really, really good stuff. When I first heard this tune playing in some of the trailers of this game, I had to know which stage it was from. It was just driving me crazy. And then I got to this point in the game and I'm like, oh yeah, not letting anything slow me down now. I was just pumped. It is so fitting given the huge onslaught of enemies we're about to face. But yeah, I'm gonna bring up the story again for a moment like I said I would earlier. I understand if it's an issue for some people, it's not that big of an issue for me. Yeah, I guess I already said everything that I want to say about it before, but I want to reiterate that I really don't see why it's such a big criticism for some people when there is a classic mode where you can just ignore all this stuff. I guess they feel that it's wrong that they're expected to endure this story, but I really don't think that's the case given the simple fact that there is a classic mode. Otherwise, Strife wouldn't have even put it there. I think he understands that this story's not going to be for everybody. I don't think he's going to be sorely disappointed if you don't enjoy his story. Like, even if you just enjoy the gameplay, well, great, because, I mean, it's not like he didn't work really hard on that. Anyway, again, I don't mind the story. I think it's alright. I mean, there are a few little things here and there that I would have left out if I had been involved with the writing process, but we'll get to that in the parts that follow. But anyway, for what's there, for what they had to work with, I think they did a pretty good job. Again, it's just going to vary from person to person, whatever floats your boat. But honestly, I don't think the simple fact that there are a lot of cutscenes should be a make or break deal for people, when they don't even have to sit through that stuff. If you're seriously, like, if you were considering getting this game, but then you found out how many cutscenes there were, how huge the story was, and you thought, oh, screw this, fuck this, I'm not gonna play this game. Well, I'm sorry, but I really just cannot respect that. But hey, that's just me. Anyway, we're nearing the end of the stage. There's really not much more to go. I appreciate that they keep playing this music, even though like it's more simple like it was at the beginning of the stage. It's just really, really cool. I also like the lightning and the rain and everything. It really gives you the sense that we're nearing this epic, crazy confrontation. Oh yeah, remember this guy? We fought him in the first stage. This is something I really like about this game. They throw these enemies at you early on, making you think there's some crazy sub-boss or whatever, and then eventually you meet these guys again later on in the game, and it's like, oh, they're just another enemy now, because you're bound to have become more skilled by this point, so, you know, dispatching them should be no problem like it was back then. Oh, the music's quieted down. So yeah, you're gonna see a lot of that as we go on. And what the heck was that? Oh no, it's Brevon's thingy and he's taking torque! Whatever will we do?
I've got you now!
I admit, when I first fought Serpentine and Fortunite, I had a bit of a hard time with him. But this time I was ready for him. I wasn't gonna give him an inch. And I can forgive them reusing a boss like this, at least for this first phase, because it really shows how the game has changed, how much more skilled you're bound to be by now, and how much less one-sided this fight is. I guess you could say that enemy we fought a moment ago was kind of foreshadowing that. So yeah, I think this is a pretty cool encounter. You know, things really do go differently this time. Those bullets are spread just a little further apart this time as they go down, so you can slip between a couple of them if you want. And oh, don't let that happen to you. You can... Ugh. Anyway. By this point in the fight, he brings out his dropship, and he deploys some of these elite troopers. These are Brivin soldiers, and I think that they're pretty fitting. They take a lot of hits. You have to knock them down a couple of times. They hit fast. They hit hard. You have to be really careful when fighting these guys, because you get like 3 or 4 of them in one spot. You're really in trouble. But anyway, that first encounter with them wasn't too hard. Serpentine's dropship, honestly, I don't really care for it that much. I just think it's one of the more bland bosses. You just have to keep whacking the cockpit until it cracks, and one of your friends will deal the finishing blow. And here's Neera, she's helping us, yay! By this point in the fight, things do get a little easier because Neera can deal with those troops for you if you want. Or at least you can take them down like twice as quickly. It's like, yay, teamwork! Serpentine's ship will just float up there out of reach until you destroy all the troopers. But anyway, again, it's a really simple boss. There's not a lot to it, and I don't really care much for the design of the dropship. I think it would have been better as a sub-boss than an end-level boss, but whatever. It's still a good confrontation story-wise. And no matter who you play as, one of your friends will always jump in to deal the finishing blow. If you're playing as Carol or Mila, it'll be Lilac, and if you play as Lilac, it'll be Carol. Hey, teamwork! So yeah, not the best of all these boss fights, but I still think it's pretty thrilling in a story aspect.
Lilac?
I don't know! Don't know.
Maybe we're not cut out for this. We should go home.
So that's it? We just leave and let Torque die?
What are we supposed to do? I like Torque, but this is so much bigger than us. We're just kids.
It's easy to forget that sometimes.
Anything.
Doesn't mean anything? Look at what they did to me! To us! Sometimes I feel like you're trying to get us killed.
How can you say that? I put myself out there on the front line so you don't have to!
Yeah, and I always have to bail you out.
What's the problem with that? We're helping each other do the right thing.
But I don't want to do the right thing! I just want to spend time with my best friend! If the only way I can do that is by risking my life, maybe we shouldn't be friends anymore.
Carol.
Don't! Just don't. I'm done.
I do think this scene is a little cliche. Like, of course they would have a scene
It's okay.
like this, but yeah, whatever.
I'm going after him. Alone.
Let me come with you.
No. Carol's right. Friends shouldn't let each other get hurt. You should stay behind with her. Mila, stay here.
I won't leave you.
Stay!
See you in part 7, guys.